One of the other news networks, one of the clearly non-God-fearing hosts, ventured this opinion. No half-smart religious person believes the book of Revelation anymore. That is incredible to me. Incredible. He added that he was 100% certain that end times wouldn't be anytime soon. Well, I don't think so either. I don't know if I'd say 100% sure.
Now, the businessman in Beck, the part of him that makes over $32 million a year while pretending to be a man of the people, doesn't want to talk about me at all. That part of him worries that he could drive some viewers to me. Beck himself has obviously become a regular viewer since he has quoted everything I've said about him in the last several shows. I've gotten to Beck as no one has before, thrown him off his game by going where none of his television critics have gone before, to his preaching, to the religious components of his fact-free presentations on Fox News and his radio show. This Beck cannot abide, because Beck has enjoyed the convention that we must never talk about another person's religious beliefs. That convention is most strictly observed by people who know the least about religion. The more religious education you have, the less trained you are to observe a phony zone of sanctity around this subject. With 12 years of formal religious education behind me, in which matters of doctrine and faith were debated relentlessly in classrooms run by nuns and priests, I don't have the fear that Beck thrives on. The political media's fear of discussing religion. Without that collective media fear, Beck's act would have collapsed a long time ago. This is a man who has admitted shopping for a religion after meeting his second wife and thinking if he was going to start a second marriage, wouldn't it be convenient to enlist in a second religion? And no one has said, that's odd. Beck has been telling his audience that the breakdown of the nuclear reactors in Japan may be signaling the end of the world. He's said, I don't know if this is the end of the world. He is now enraged that I have told you the truth, that it is not the end of the world, that I know it's not the end of the world. He's enraged that I would dare to suggest that the book of Revelation has nothing to do with what is going on in Japan or in the world today, and that I know it has nothing to do with it. He is much more enraged that I have said good and thoughtful Christians do not believe the book of Revelation, just as no good and thoughtful Christian literally believes everything in the Bible. To believe everything in the Bible, you would have to believe that the proper penalty for not keeping the Sabbath is death. You would have to believe that the proper penalty for dishonoring your father and mother is death, that children should be killed for that. To believe the Bible literally, you would have to believe that the proper penalty for adultery is death. No one believes that. And Beck dares not take up those specific passages of the Bible that I have cited, that I have said Beck himself does not believe. He will not address those. Christianity has matured into a selective process where Christians take what makes sense to them in the Old and the New Testament and ignore the rest. To believe the book of Revelation literally, you have to believe in dragons. Quote, and the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth, and swallowed up the river, which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon waxed wroth with the woman, and went away to make war with the rest of her seed. You also, obviously, have to believe in riddles because, of course, what I just read makes absolutely no sense. Though Beck is constantly citing the genius of the Founding Fathers, he will never tell you that one of those geniuses, Thomas Jefferson, considered the book of Revelation, quote, merely the ravings of a maniac no more worthy nor capable of explanation than the incoherences of our own nightly dreams. Jefferson went on to say, I do not consider them as revelations of the Supreme Being, whom I would not so far blaspheme as to impute to him a pretension of revelation couched at the same time in terms which he would know were never to be understood by those to whom they were addressed. In Jefferson's selective view of Christianity, the book of Revelation he took as blasphemy. That's how wide the range of Christian opinion is on the book of Revelation. I called it a work of fiction. Jefferson called it blasphemy. Beck calls it the Word of God. It is, in fact, the selective sampling of the Bible that allows Christianity to thrive in the 21st century. It would simply die as a religious practice if it continued to hold that adulterers should be killed, or people who do not observe the Sabbath should be killed, or children who dishonor their parents should be killed instead of given a timeout. Christianity has adapted to the modern world. It has dropped its homicidal impulses that led to the burning of witches and inquisitions and crusades. Glen Beck's fake biblical literalist piety has taken itself to its obvious extreme. There was ultimately nowhere else for it to go. So it has arrived to the point where, on a daily basis, Glen Beck says to his audience, I don't know if it's the end of the world. He doesn't know if it's today. He doesn't know if it's tomorrow. The question now is, how long will his audience allow him to be wrong? Today, it turns out, is not the end of the world. I told you it wasn't going to be. Tomorrow isn't either. Tomorrow, the great religious schools and universities of the world, where Glen Beck has never been enrolled, will continue to teach non-literal interpretations of the Bible, in particular, the book of Revelation. And tomorrow, Glen Beck will be torn between the businessman side of himself, who wants dearly to never refer to me in any way again for the rest of his life, and the religious fanatic side of himself that so far has been unable to resist the temptation I have put before him. Knowing what I know about Beck, his money, and his religion, I'm betting on the businessman to win.